Well, I think there always is hope. I think that's important. So I would say just keep playing. I mean, the reason that I play music is to feel my best. I don't think it matters even really if you play. I think it's just music is kind of like this amazing physical phenomenon that we can control sound and time with our bodies and our minds. And any way that you derive enjoyment from it is valid, and it brings people together. And I think if you don't play and you want to start playing, it's never too late. And if you've put it down for a while, it's always there. And if you're playing every day and you enjoy it, just keep doing it.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the All Music Matters in That podcast. I'm your host, Brian. Join me today, it's Maxwell Gomez on the West Coast. How you doing, brother?
Hey, doing great, Brian. How about yourself?
No worries. And where are you hailing on the West Coast?
I'm in Orange County, so that's just south of Los Angeles, north of San Diego.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? Actually, me and my dad, we were watching the Penguins. They were playing Anaheim last night.
Okay.
And,
yeah, I'm nearby there.
Actually, we were just looking at the size of LA in general because my dad, he was way back in the day when he went out there to see the Steelers playing the Super Bowl in Pasadena. And just looking at it, we're like, Christ, this city is huge, man.
Yeah.
So
it's like this big metropolitan sprawl.
It's like the metropolis of the Superman comics, to be honest. So,
yeah.
All right. So, Max, welcome to my podcast right here. And the way this works is just going to ask you some simple questions so we get to know you more, both as the individual and as the drummer. So I got them all right here. So you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Hope you had time to review them. Here we go. Let's start with a simple one. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you become a drummer?
My dad is a musician, and he plays keyboard, and he's a really good singer. But he sold guitars for a while. And when I was a little kid, I think around like 7 or 8, I saw Green Day on TV, and I was like, that's it. I just want to like be a guitar player. So I played guitar for a long time, actually, before I even played drums. But once I held my first beat, I think in junior high school, that was it. And I got borrowed a drum kit from my dad's friend and played every day in the garage during high school. And I've been playing almost 20 years now. So it's, that's, I guess, the story.
Actually, that's pretty interesting. Yeah. You were really big into Billy Joel Armstrong. So was that during the Dookie years?
Exactly.
Oh,
yeah.
my gosh.
That came out, and there was like, an older kid that like influenced me. He like showed me Green Day, and I was like, oh, this is the coolest thing ever.
Actually, I'm surprised you didn't get influenced by drums right then, because Trey Cool on that album, he was absolutely crazy, to be honest.
Phenomenal drummer.
Yeah, and it was Chump, and I think I'm going to pronounce it wrong, but I think they were trying to do like some sort of Latin involved. It probably was Latin, but whatever. Enemies Sleepless actually had a little bit of a drum solo in it.
Totally.
And did you ever play the video game Rock Band before?
A couple times.
They actually had one for Green Day, and those songs are on there too. So you can imagine how crazy it is just trying to play those ones.
Oh, I bet.
That's pretty sweet. I guess, do you still listen to Green Day to this day?
I do.
Do you still like the old Green Day, like when it was like Dookie, then American Idiot, those kind of albums too? Nimrod, all those ones? Or do you like the new stuff too?
I like everything, but I think Nimrod is probably my favorite, and then Dookie. But I celebrate their entire catalog.
I would say I have more fun playing American Idiot, but I think it's because the songs are longer, so you get to enjoy yourself a bit more on drums. So
yeah.
All right. So I guess, where's your kid at by any chance? Is it nearby, or we got to explain it in detail?
No, I have a kit at my lockout rehearsal studio down the street.
Okay.
Yeah, you want me to go over the details?
Sure.
Cool. I play a four-piece kit. I'm a metal grindcore drummer in my band, I'd say. So I play a pretty limited setup. It's a custom kit made by a company. I'm not sure if they're still around here anymore, but they're called Ford Drums, like the car company in Santa Ana, California. 22 by 16 kick, 16 by 16 floor, 13 by 9 rack, and then I use a Ludwig Superphonic 6.5 by 14 John Bonham style snare.
Oh, that's pretty sweet. They spelled the same way? Because I'm thinking like, man, they're copying the Ford company. It sounds like it would be a trademark sort of deal right there.
Yeah, I think it's Ford Drums. I think they've trademarked it that way. If they even trademarked it at all, I mean, it was one of the owners. It was his last name. So I don't know if the car company can like really get away with doing like trademarking drums on top of that, but who knows?
Oh, I see. And you said you're real big into grindcore and the sort of metal scene too, I guess. When did you get started in that? Was that like a high school kind of shtick that happened and just kind of lasted?
That was high school. Yeah, I got into some more cringy bands like Cradle of Filth and I don't know, Marilyn Manson and stuff. And then I was like, oh, the double pedal is pretty cool, and picked one up at Guitar Center, and then got into real stuff like Carcass and Cannibal Corpse, and The Locust is probably my all-time favorite in that genre. Their drummer who passed away last year, Gabe Serbian, was my all-time favorite.
Oh, I see. They rest in peace too. It's kind of a shame.
Yeah.
When I was talking with like, there's actually a metal guitarist too, who's out of California. I don't know if you're familiar with Ryan Boucher by any chance.
I don't know.
He plays in some of the more extreme metal too, but we kind of talked a little bit because Trevor Strahan, the lead singer for Black Dahlia Murder, he had recently passed, and we were kind of talking like, man, we're losing all these talented musicians, and I think it was a suicide, and that was pretty sad too.
Oh no!
But I mean, we're losing all these great musicians, even in the metal scene too, and sometimes it may be because of tragic circumstances or even something like suicide too, I guess.
Yeah.
Have you experienced this too? Because you said you played in a metal band as well.
I haven't. I'm trying to think. I mean, there's probably someone that I can't think off the top of my head, but obviously all the older rock guys are getting up there in age, so that's less surprising. But when someone young passes away, I mean, it's tragic.
Yeah. But we still have Ozzy Osbourne around, so we still got the grandfather heavy metal.
Yeah.
That guy's eternal, to be honest. In fact, did you hear some of his newer music?
No, I haven't checked it out yet. Is it good?
It is. Degradation Rules, and what was the other one? It was something reality. Oh, God, I just heard it on the radio the other day. It was, I'm going to kick myself. I know it's going to drive me crazy, but it was something reality. It was something like that. But it wasn't Masters of Reality. It was not the Black Sabbath album. So.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Excuse me. But yeah, it's still cool. And actually, he's doing it with Tony Iommi, believe it or not.
Oh, right on.
He's doing it under his name. So it's his solo name, Ozzy Osbourne, and then / Tony Iommi. So I guess you can't really roll with Black Sabbath because you don't have Geezer Butler, or it's not Bill Ward anymore. So I don't know who the current drummer is for Black Sabbath, but I see. So Carcass, you did mention about some of the artists you had mentioned too. And for me, it actually started in middle school because a friend of mine introduced me to the alternative metal scene. Like, are you familiar with Under Oath and From Autumn to Ashes?
Yeah, I am, yeah.
Yeah, I actually got into those bands, actually. And then I found death metal on my own. I'm sure you're familiar with Dying Fetus.
For sure.
Oh, man. Actually, I just remember my dad just look at me funny, be like, Brian, what the hell are you listening to? Were your parents the same way?
Yeah, I think my dad kind of understood because like the 70s were like the rebellious period against their parents. And he's like, so it kind of has to go somewhere else. So when I got into like punk rock and metal, he was like, I don't like the music, and then he came around eventually because he's seen me play live a bunch of times. And he's like, the musicianship here is crazy. It's just, it's way less melodic and poppy. And he's like a, Paul McCartney Beatles style fan. So he likes the real pop stuff.
He's still stuck in the 60s and 70s. Those guys.
Yeah.
Actually, that's kind of how my dad is too. He sometimes listens to like some of those 80 ones, like the Iron Maiden, Judas Priest. I didn't want to say Saxon, but I think he might have heard it a couple times. But you're right, to some of those bands that kind of do like a Judas Priest sort of style, Rob Halford sort of singing voice, for instance.
Okay.
But he's okay with it too, but it's whatever to him. But I think he would like to see Metallica live, which I always thought was pretty funny because that was actually the first time I got into metal, I should say, because then it started expanding more into alternative and death metal. But that was the first time I had actually heard about metal in general. But really, I was just kind of going with it. I really wasn't even thinking at the time. It was just like, oh, this sounds cool. And just rolled with it, really. But the other thing, too, is California is known for all sorts of the thrash metal bands that came out in the 80s. I guess, did they come in around the LA area, or were they kind of more like San Diego and other parts of California?
I'm not really like a historian here, to be honest. So I'm not sure, but, LA and Orange County has a lot of stuff coming through all the time. So whenever anyone's around, I come by or I go out and check it out.
I see. Okay. I thought it was worth a try. I thought we at least touched your history buff right there. All right. But before we jump into your band right there, I guess, what sort of sticks do you play?
I play Vic Firth rock.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, the 2B diameter with the the little bit of length there, just because, I don't know, play fast, you lose grip sometimes.
Otherwise, yeah, you got to be like real tight in order to like make sure everything's within reach. I know what you mean too. Is it the 5A or 5B?
Oh, they're 2B, so they're real thick.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Will that make it hard to blast beat though? I always find like the thicker they are, it's a little hard to like kind of move in your hand. So I'm not too sure, I guess.
I think it totally does, but I blast beat probably less than I normally would anyway, and I usually warm up with those big like Core Master sticks, the Skojos, the Pro Marks, and they're like, I don't know, they're almost like double as thick as the 2Bs when I'm working at home, like on my chops and stuff. So I've got pretty strong forearms, and yeah, the 2B, like the rock ones, I find that they break less. If I go down to like 3A or 5B, I'm gonna be spending more money.
I see. Yeah, I guess you guys do more of the simple like that sort of thing, or you guys kind of
like. Well, I mean, the examples that we have online right now are older material, but the newer stuff is a lot of time signature changes. A fair amount of double pedal. There's definitely blast beats in there. It's just I tried to be a little bit more creative and less reliant on that.
I see. Okay. I guess since we've been talking about Japan, I guess what's the name of the group? And I guess what do you guys try to mainly do?
We're called Lemmy Devato. So Lemmy, like Motorhead Lemmy. Yeah. And then we're a power trio. So guitar, 5-string bass. Our new bass player Jeanette is killing it, and then me on a 4-piece kit with a double pedal. And we are playing the Southern California area. We're getting set to record at least 10 new songs. They're all anywhere from like a minute to 2.5 minutes long.
Is that normally how grindcore goes? They're normally like anywhere between a minute and 2?
Yeah, I tend to go towards the shorter song durations.
I know that's how Napalm Death used to roll back in the day with like
some raps.
But they went like from being like just doing songs that were maybe like a few seconds, and then eventually when they brought in Barney Greenway, I think it was the next album right after From Enslavement to Obliteration. It was Harmony Corruption. That's when they started expanding their songs. Now they start doing 3 and 4 minute songs. If that's something you guys might do at some point, or you just kind of like what you're doing right now?
Well, we used to, the guitar player Mike and I, we actually started the band like right when the pandemic began because we had nothing else to do. So we were just playing a lot of music, and we've probably written, I don't know, we probably wrote like 30 songs before we got onto this batch, and we only released 3 from those 30. Not to say all of them were bad or anything. We were just kind of like going through a bunch of ideas, and then we really got excited when we started doing like the crazier, more like Dillinger Escape Plan, Converge, The Locust type songs where things are really manic and chaotic and changing a lot. So we put out like the three strongest songs from the past, and then we're just moving on to the future. And this is the shape it's taken.
I see. I guess are they still pretty strict with some of the COVID policies in California, or they kind of really loosen themselves up?
It depends where you go. Still see like a fair amount of masks around in stores and things like that, but I feel like it's oscillating. But I'd say overall it's getting more relaxed.
I guess since we are kind of jumping on this too, I guess how bad did it impact you?
Well, I had COVID a couple times. I got it like the first time that summer of 2020, and it knocked me on my ass. But luckily, none of my family, who's like more elderly, got it or anything. To be honest, it was just kind of like the whole situation that like was more of a bummer than the illness itself.
Yeah, I was gonna say you guys are facing more closer to China, so that was well, and that was pretty unfortunate too, because that means you guys were the first ones to get it, and it felt pretty odd eventually when it came all the way out here, because I live in the state of PA,
Okay.
and it was weird at first because they're just saying like, hey, it'll just be a couple weeks at most, and that's why I started working from home. First time I started working from home actually, and then next thing you know, it was 2 years went by. So I don't know. When did they eventually allow you to like start playing in shows again?
Sometime in 2021, because that was the first time we played. And it was just like crawling back to what it was. I don't know if it's ever going to be that way, or, like it was before or anything. But yeah, I'd say like summer of 2021, I think we played our first show again, and people were out, and everyone was just great. Everyone that was going out was really excited to see live music. We were excited to play, and yeah.
And I was kind of the same way too. When I think my first concert I actually went to in a long while, because it was obviously pre-pandemic when I went to my last one. I was pretty excited, and I think it was Mastodon I went to go see, and that was when it was Mastodon, Chemist. I'm not trying to get confused Gojira, because I was actually with Deftones, believe it or not, but might just been Chemist and Mastodon. I'll have to. Oh wait, Opeth. That's right. It was Opeth. Okay.
Yeah, I saw that tour here in LA. The opener was different, but Mastodon I hadn't seen before. They're incredible. They blew me away. And then Opeth I've seen probably like a dozen times. They're one of my favorite bands for sure.
I was surprised with Opeth because they actually played some of their older material. I guess. What was the last time you recently saw them?
Back whenever that tour was.
Might have just been last year, but yeah. I just remember singing along to Deliverance when they kind of reached the last part right there. Deliverance, laughing at me. That sort of thing. So
yeah,
that was pretty cool. But I also remember singing along to some of Mastodon songs, because they were actually doing more from their newest album, which was Hushed and Grim. That's right. I'm sorry, my memory's a little joggy right now. I woke up not too long ago. So
nice.
So you can see. But it's been a long week too, so I had to at least get a nice little sleep in too.
There you go.
You know what? I kind of wish I had actually videoed when I did Gobblers or Dregs, because that's actually starting to become one of my favorite songs from that Hush and Grib album. It's actually like an 8-minute song, but it starts off slow, but then when it gets like halfway in, like the 4-minute mark, it actually starts getting like real good. It starts picking up a little bit. Yeah, you get to really enjoy yourself on drums a little bit more on that one. So, a little spoiler alert for a little drum cover in the future. So
nice.
I guess I did see your name. It was Clockwork Production. I guess what made you pick that name?
Clockwork Percussion. So
Percussion.
yeah. It's I don't know. I just thought of it and thought it sounded cool. So that's what I'm going with right now.
I would say we can't really go with Clockwork Orange.
Yeah,
do something like that.
Right.
But actually, yeah, I did see your one video. It looked like you had a little stick mishap. Did it get caught under your cymbal?
yeah, I had a little blooper video yesterday.
I did see that. Was that one of your own songs you were playing to, or was that like a cover you were trying out?
I don't really play a whole lot of covers anymore. I'm just kind of putting up like free form clips, and I I did a lot of covers in my old one man band called Blind Boss. You can check that out at blindboss.net. But I actually played all the instruments on the songs. And yeah, so what I'm going with now are just like little like freeform clips, and I'll just go and come up with some ideas, and I don't know, just post them.
Well, I suppose to each his own too, I guess. Did you used to roll with YouTube, or have you kind of jumped around a little bit?
I'm on YouTube as well.
Okay. Do you just strictly do drum covers, or do you try like some other stuff in between, or have you been kind of on and off it from time to time?
Just yeah, on and off, whatever I feel like, kind of.
Uh, Band comes first. That's fair enough. But I guess when you started, was there something you hoped to achieve with it?
Just fun. I think, there's a lot of weight put into being like influencers and stuff. And it's just like influencer, without any clear direction. And I kind of fell into that for a while, where I was trying to like just get popular or something. And, obviously didn't work out. So it's easier to say like, I don't want to do that anymore. But, coming back around to like the reason I play music in the first place is just to have a good time. So that's my purpose.
So it would kind of serve as a diary of sorts.
Yeah.
Well, that's what some people in our little drum community, that's what we do too. Some of us do. Some of us, we try to at least reach to it, be some sort of influencer in a way. But speaking of influencer, it's kind of like, that's what you see mostly with like Instagram. It's like all those people who get like all those millions of followers because they're like, you lift, bro, that sort of thing, with like all sorts of nutrition, stuff like that too. So it kind of varies with that, but I know there's like other influencers that kind of get into fashion, and some music guys here and there. But I guess if it wasn't for the band, would you kind of like stuck with YouTube, or did COVID not allow you guys to really do much?
Yeah, no, I'd say I'd always find a way. Blind Boss, the project that I mentioned before, I had been releasing music since I think 2017. That was all like just a self effort, guitar, bass, drums, vocals, wrote all the songs and everything. And then kind of put a pause on the originals and did covers for a while, which was a lot of fun. And then I don't know, then I had like a girlfriend, and that kind of tore me away from playing music as much, which is always a sign that's not the right one. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we broke up. So, focusing a lot more on the band. I mean, not that I stopped practicing with the band. We were always had a consistent schedule, but, a lot more mental bandwidth is going towards music in general, as it should be.
I see. Was this Blind Boss? Was it kind of a similar genre to what you're playing right now, or was it kind of a little different in a way?
A little bit more accessible, a little bit more, like pop punk, but still like pretty hard. Some curveballs thrown in there, double pedal and blast beats for sure, but a lot more like cohesive, like A B A B C A B kind of song structures, I'd say.
Okay. Was it kind of like how Offspring would be, or was it like different kind of punk?
Maybe like a mix between like Green Day and Foo Fighters with a little
bit metal.
Yeah, a little metal sprinkled in.
Yeah, we need a little metal in there. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Start poking the guitar player. Come on. That's the thing. I can see what you mean too. All right, that's pretty sweet. Do you guys still kind of roll today, or you guys kind of broken up?
No, I mean, again, that was just kind of like a self-produced effort, and it's a lot of work. I did a one-man live stage show too.
Okay.
And I toured the country doing that in like 2017, 2018. COVID really put an end to all of that. And now that I think about it, that's probably like where everything, where pause was pressed. And then I started playing more with Mike, and it was a lot more fun just sharing the music and writing with somebody else. And so moving forward with that, no plans to stop in sight.
Have you guys thought about touring yet with your new group, or are you guys just going to sticking around California?
Definitely thinking about it, but I think it's important to grow organically. I'd say I've toured with other bands before, and you can get ahead of yourself sometimes when you try to just do it. And perseverance is the key no matter what, but you kind of want to build like a regional following first and just kind of like naturally spread out to closer cities, I think, before you hit the road like fully.
Mm. Are you guys on those streaming services like the Spotify's and all those ones? Because it seems like that's like where you have to like build your presence first.
Yeah, we're on Spotify, and we have a YouTube channel and Instagram as well.
Well, that's what it seems like they want the music direction to like go. Like now it's like everything has to be like streaming wise. So
Yeah.
it's not like how it was with like iTunes or even back then when you used to get the CDs. If anybody really remembers how those ones were, but but uh, now these days it's just all mainly electronic, and then you also get these like messages on Instagram that will say like, "Hey, do you want to promote your music?" and that sort of thing. It's probably some person all the way out in Asia or something, and they're trying to like be their little promoter for you too. Do you get a lot of those too?
I do. Yeah. I think it's a lot of people that are on like Fiverr too. I don't know if you've used that app or that service before, but they can just run your stuff through like a bunch of machines to get a bunch of plays. And I don't know if it works for you. I guess that's cool, but yeah, I definitely get that spam a lot.
You know what? Anytime I like try to post a drum cover or even just some of these podcast interviews that I do, I get it here just strictly mainly on Instagram, sometimes on LinkedIn too. But there's a sense you want to feel bad, but then you don't like. I don't know if this guy's really a scammer, and it's like one of those things. Like if I give this guy money, I'm probably gonna get ripped off in some way too. So,
Right.
so that's always a bad thing too. And you kind of wish it would just stop,
Yeah.
but it's just the nature of the beast too. But going back to your earlier point with Fiverr, I am familiar with it. I haven't used it, but I'm familiar with it too. Have you ever used it before, or?
I have actually, yeah, a lot for like band logos and album art and a lot of little projects. The hard thing is just finding the right person the first time, but just test people out.
Is this like a little side hustle you do, or do you have like another job that you kind of do outside of the band?
Oh, the Fiverr thing?
Well, Fiverr, and I guess that sounds like it'd be a nice side hustle. Then, do you have like another job after that outside of the band?
Yeah, no, I don't. So I don't like sell on Fiverr. I like have bought services off Fiverr for like band art and stuff. But yeah, I actually I work in the student travel industry as my day job.
Just like to get the interns or everybody over to certain places in California, or is this like internationally too?
I contact schools and like high schools and teachers, and I help teachers organize travel programs for their students abroad. So Latin America, Asia, Europe.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I actually remember. It's funny you mentioned that too, and I'm sorry to kind of jump in some of my ramblings here, but when I was in high school too, I used to take German back in high school. We actually took a German trip out to Germany, believe it or not.
That's cool.
Germany and Austria. And it was really all part of the German club too. So, and that was actually the first time I ever been to Europe too. I guess, have you ever traveled abroad or even toured abroad as well?
Unfortunately, never toured abroad, but I have been fortunate to travel quite a bit. That's why I'm in that industry. I believe if every kid had the opportunity to travel, it would just make the world a better place.
I guess some of the places you have been, I guess, what was your favorite place?
I like Latin America a lot. I have family in Mexico, and I've been to Brazil, Costa Rica. Thailand was a highlight, though, for sure.
It's funny you mentioned Thailand, too, because I actually have a friend who does Muay Thai, that fighting style. I'll just say it's a Thailand version of MMA, for instance.
Yeah.
And he says they gamble like crazy over there in that sort of sport, too. So I guess, did you see anything like that when you were in Thailand, or did you just kind of stick mostly to the main streets?
I have a buddy that lives in Bangkok, and so we chilled there for a little bit, and then flew up to Chiang Mai in the north, and then I spent my birthday surfing in Phuket, which is like a southern island.
Oh, that sounds pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I thought, did they have those giant wasps, and they have like poisonous stingers on them for something?
I have no idea. Wasps are crazy.
I mean, I know I saw something. It was an old TV show I used to watch. It was called 1,000 Ways to Die, and well, you can obviously guess what happens, but it was these giant bugs. They kind of looked like those big yellow jackets, and they actually tragically had poisonous stingers on them. So that was like Yeah, I don't think I'm going to Southeast Asia anytime soon. So I'm sorry to deter you if that's what happens, but it might have just been fake TV or whatever. But regardless,
Right.
just watch yourself too. I say anything with giant insects, I like to stay away from that. That's why, as much as I probably would like to live in the southwest of the states, for instance, I feel like tarantulas. Can't do that. No tarantulas.
Right.
So I don't know. I guess, would you have any sort of parameters you put in front of yourself to move somewhere?
That's a good question. I could see myself living in Latin America. When I went to Costa Rica, it's funny. I was totally arachnophobic, and I was in the rainforest camping, and there are so many tarantulas and big bugs that it literally like broke my fear mechanism, and like I just had to get over it. Like they're all venomous, but all around Costa Rica they have like antidote, like hospital type like clinics. So if you do get bitten or something, they rush you over to one. There's probably one like every hour away or something. But yeah,
Only an hour away.
yeah, right.
I don't know. No, I'm just picturing like these giant spiders be like the. Were you ever a fan of Lord of the Rings?
Oh yeah,
You remember the giant spider in the third one there? It's like Jason
Yeah.
Frodo. I was
Yeah.
just picturing that and then thinking like, oh god, I probably will lose my shit, to be honest. I don't like care so much for like the daddy long legs or those small ones. The little spiders kind of freak me out, but it's like just one like, you get out of my face or I'm going to stomp on you. But like the tarantulas, I'm like, oh my god, no, just get away. I'm not doing this. No,
yeah.
it's funny you mentioned arachnophobia too. I have that same problem too. But you did say, no, you didn't mention that. I was trying to think of another question right there. I'm sorry,
All good.
but I guess we can just keep going here. I guess let's start with advice in terms of like touring, because obviously you say you toured the country and stuff like this. So I guess what advice would you give to musicians who want to try something like that?
Um, I would say just as much planning in advance that you can do is going to be helpful. Taking care of your health is really important. And before the tour, I'd say limit partying and get as much sleep as you can before, because when you're on the road, it's not going to happen. You're going to be, if you need to, for instance, if you're in Pennsylvania or you're in New York and you need to get to a gig in Ohio, you got to drive through Pennsylvania. So that's, more, 10 hours of driving. So you have to just wake up super early and get there by, to do a sound check at like 6 p.m. You're up early, you're up at 6, and that could be every day for a week until you have a night off scheduled or something. So I would say, your mindset, your attitude, and taking care of your physical health are probably the most important things.
It's always funny when you mention about partying and stuff like that too, because you see like a lot of those metal groups like back in the day, they'd be like, oh, we party, that sort of thing. We got these pictures, all these beers and stuff. You realize like, how much money, first off, were you guys spending? Or, like, exactly how chill were you guys? Because it sounds like trying to go and play music, any sort of venue, and doing that sort of stuff, it sounds like it would be a lot of stress on you, too. So I can imagine. It's actually really good advice. And I think it depends on what, since you were saying about New York, driving from Pennsylvania to Ohio, I think it depends, like, which part of New York you're coming from, too. Because I know it's about an 8-hour
Totally.
drive to Saratoga Springs. So I think Buffalo's only, like, 3 hours at most too, so that's probably why bands like Cannibal Corpse chilling around there, so they're able to get to certain parts here and there too. So,
Right.
did you have a favorite of any of those death metal groups? Do you have like top? Let's change it. Top 5, the top metal groups.
Man, okay, I'd have to say, I think Carcass is probably one of my favorites. Opeth, Cannibal Corpse, Death, Children of Bodom. Is that 5?
That's 5.
Okay.
That's pretty sweet. Is Children of Bodom still around after Alexia passed away?
No.
No, they call it quits.
Yeah, I think they actually broke up before that, and he started he released a single from like his own new band, but I think it was like too late. He was pretty far gone at that point.
Did they say what it was? I don't think I ever heard what the cause of death was.
I'm pretty sure it was just alcoholism.
It was that bad.
Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah, that's just another tragic one of those things there, and you really wish it wouldn't happen because I didn't know how old was he actually. Did it say how old he was?
I think it was like early 40s, like 41 or something.
I just remember listening to the album "Are You Dead Yet?" and that was a.
That's my favorite song for sure by them.
I was trying to remember. Was it that song? I think it was. I think it was. Yeah, and I remember. I think that was one of my friends introduced to me too, and that was. I was thinking like, this is actually pretty killer. But you know what? I didn't give him much credit, and now I feel bad. But like all the other groups you mentioned, yeah, I've listened to them a good number of times. I actually recently started getting into Carcass. Actually, I did a Corporeal Jigsaw
Quandary.
I was going to say puzzle.
Yeah.
You know what? I was almost going to say puzzle. I got myself there. Quandary. But yeah, I did that one. It was part of a drum cover. I think it was during Halloween, to be honest, when I actually did that one. But
Nice.
so
I'll have to check that out, man.
it might have been sometime in October. I don't want to say right on Halloween, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Yeah.
Have you seen all those groups live, or are they just seen a couple here and there?
Well,
I know you mentioned OPEF, but I guess.
Yeah, I haven't seen Death, obviously, but there is like a tour coming around with like some of the old members playing, so I'm going to check that out. I've seen Carcass once or twice, Cannibal Corpse a bunch of times, Opeth a bunch of times, and then Children of Bodom I never got to see. I always turned him down for some reason when my friends were going out, and then like he died, or they like quit, and then like he died. It was like, well, I'm never seeing this band now. What an idiot.
You know, that's the same way with Pantera too. But
right.
But now but now you see with like,
that's a close top 5. Actually, I didn't even think about Pantera. How dare I?
Yeah. Actually, we'll put it at number 6. We'll be fair. But
right.
But you know, it's cool seeing it like still going in terms of like just Phil and Rex, for instance. But I guess what do you make, since we're talking about Pantera? I guess what do you make of Charlie Benante and Zach Wilde?
I think it's kind of sacrilegious, to be honest. I don't like it, but I'm not going to go pay to see it or listen to anything new that they put out. But if they want to go out and like, I think they should have just called themselves a different band. I think it's kind of like a cash grab. It's not what like the Pantera was the Abbott brothers. Like if Phil had died, they could have replaced him. If Rex had not wanted to play, they could have replaced him. It was like those two brothers did everything. So I don't know. That's my opinion.
I'm going to say strictly more Dimebag, if anything, because he seemed super committed to the role. And then Vinny was obviously along for the ride to hang out with his brother and have all that fun too. So I would say more Dime, if anything, but yeah. And I completely agree. But I feel bad at the same time because it feels like Phil in some way wants some sort of redemption because it seems like they always wanted to get back together. And then the whole thing happened with Ohio Club.
Yeah.
That was it. And then eventually Vinny ended up with Hell Yeah, with Chad Gray and all those guys. But you are right. If they had gone under a different name, would you have been okay if they were playing Pantera songs? Because you saw Phil do it with Phil and some on the Illegals.
Sure. I mean, like, I play Pantera songs. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I'm not going to have the hubris to be like, we're Pantera. You know what I mean? He was in the band. They have 2 original members. So, I mean, like, it's, awesome. So it is what it is. I'm just not going to like support it. That's all.
So if you guys you do a good amount of cover songs too, or do you just kind of stick with your original material?
We cover Ace of Spades by Motorhead.
Did you? That's pretty solid. That's pretty sweet too. Is it pretty tough on drums?
I don't think so. I think it's pretty straightforward, but I definitely add a good amount of double pedal in there.
I see. Actually, no, it would have been more fitting with Overkill, to be honest, since that uses a lot of double bass pedal too.
That's a great song.
But since we have mentioned a good amount of like bands and like other musicians so far, I guess who would you consider as being like your biggest influence?
I had mentioned earlier Gabe Serbian from a band called The Locust. Their last 3 releases had like their best lineup starting in 2003 with a record called Plague Soundscapes, and I can't recommend that record enough. It's like it like changed my life. I'm lucky I heard it really young. And then Trey Cool is probably my second favorite drummer. everything from there, is just like there's too many to mention, but I'd say those are my two core influences on drums.
Was your dad really big into a lot of the classic rock artists, like the Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, and
Yeah, well, not so much Sabbath. He definitely got me into, it was like the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, and like the Police. And Stuart Copeland is like, yeah, just a great drummer. So when I started getting into drums, he would always drive me to my friend's house for band practice and be listening to the Police, and he'd be like, see, this guy like never like does fills until the tension is so tight that he just like has to release it. And I'm like, that's cool.
That's for sure. Yeah, my dad was actually the same way. In fact, a lot of stuff that we've been talking about, it's like my dad's kind of like the same way. And, like, he was a musician briefly too, but he was mainly just doing like cover works with one of my uncles, and he was playing bass, and they kind of goofed around with War Pigs from Black Sabbath.
Nice.
But he kind of hung it up. He never really kind of got fully committed into it, just to kind of like either go out, have fun, or even record a song, for instance. Since back then that was like analog and stuff like that, so you don't want to screw yourself up doing that sort of thing. But he got me into a lot of the stuff I listen to still, like even a lot of the classic rocks, which I'll turn on Ozzy's Boneyard. I'm assuming you listen to Sirius XM every now and again?
I do, yeah. Liquid Metal is a preset.
Yes, I actually listen to that on going to my second job a lot. Do you actually like the little show they do? It's the Into the Trivia Pit, whenever it's on.
I don't know if I've heard that one.
It's a little game show. It's strictly about all the metal music that they cover. It could be like any of the ones from like, I want to say 70s, maybe like some of them, maybe more strictly Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne, but it covers like all that sort of stuff. They ask you questions like, can you name this riff from this band? Or if it's like, I think one, excuse me, sorry. But one was like a question. It talked about what state was Morbid Angel from. The guy couldn't guess it was from Florida.
No.
And that was it. That guy was done like right then and there. That was it. So, but I do like it at times. But like it's more like I just came out for music. But it's like,
yeah,
if it's like one of those bad days, I'd be like, I just want some music. I don't want to listen to a game show. But I think it's just based on timing, for instance, for me. But every now and again, I like to listen to it too, just to see what's going on in the world.
For sure.
So, I don't know. Always trying to formulate questions based off that, but I guess what song have you loved so far from what they played on Liquid Metal?
Oh, there's been a couple that I've saved to like my Spotify metal playlists. I'd have to look, and I'm on my phone right now for Skype. There's like an Avatar song that was really cool, and some things that I never thought I'd like get into. They play a pretty good variety. I wish they'd play more stuff that I like, but they do play some stuff that like totally catches my ear, and I end up saving and listening to later.
I actually bring on some other guests at times. It was I was almost gonna say Ian Scott, but no, that's the guy from Anthrax. But one of the guys who comes on, he plays like stuff from like the older music, for instance. So recently he did like stuff from black metal that came out of Norway scene, and you can tell the production's not the greatest because like some of the older,
for sure,
black metal stuff that came out of there too. Surprisingly, he did not play Mayhem. I thought he was gonna play Mayhem. So, but no, he actually did. Hades was one. That's right, Hades, and I forget what the other two were, but Enslaved. Actually, that's right. One was called Enslaved.
Okay.
Which I think there's actually another American band that's named that too, but it's interesting too. They actually do some pretty cool stuff on Liquid Metal. Speaking of which. But what were you going to say? I'm sorry.
Oh, black metal is great. I got into that in high school. Like I said, a guilty pleasure would be Cradle of Filth, and then my buddy was like, okay, like I showed you that, but like I should have really just showed you Emperor and Dark Throne.
It was funny too, because you mentioned Cradle of Filth, and then you jumped down to Marilyn Manson, which is kind of a bit of a odd little like comedy, for instance. So I wasn't too sure.
Yeah, I think it was probably just, I was a kid, so it's like the visual aspect of it where it's like, oh, it's like a production, like, they're wearing face paint and it's all black, and it's like they really stylized it. And then like when you kind of dig into the roots more, you're like, oh, this is like the legitimate shit. So
absolutely too. I do remember Cradle Filth song. It was actually they made a little montage based on Final Fantasy. I think it was Final Fantasy 7, but it was Absinthe with Faust was the song, and that was one they were playing in the background too. I think it's still on YouTube, so strongly recommended.
Nice.
So I don't know if you touched on this, but I guess what sort of gear do you use in terms of like the microphone? Do you do any cameras whenever you're playing live?
Yeah, so I've got a Panasonic camera. I forget what the model is. The GX85. It's an older one. That's kind of like my front camera. I do use my phone as a side camera and then a GoPro up above. For microphones, I've got the AKG D112 for the kick, 57s all around the drums, and then some Octava overheads, and I'm running that through a PreSonus, something, it's 1288, or I don't know, it's like an older interface, but it's got nice warm preamps, and I mix in Logic.
Oh, you use Logic too?
Nice.
That's pretty sweet. And just strictly an interface, it's not a mixer or anything, or do you have a mixer?
No, it's not. It's like a preamp interface. God, what's the model? A PreSonus something. It's a little older, but it's really cool. Nice warm preamps.
That's pretty sweet. I've heard PreSonus a couple times too, but I never really got the chance to actually try it out too. I kind of stuck with Focusrite.
It's a Focusrite competitor, like whatever. It's like, the same model as like the Scarlett or the Claret. It's like the Claret style.
I see. Yeah, mine's Scarlett 18920. That's what we're using right here. This baby's served me pretty well for all my music and podcast endeavors too. So
nice.
Well, let's see where we're at right now. My bands. I guess we can start getting some fun questions right here. So let's start with this one. What's your favorite alcoholic drink?
I don't drink anymore.
You used to drink back in the day?
Yeah, I was probably big on like tequila and scotch and beer, but I quit about, 16 months ago, and quit everything. I used to smoke a lot of weed, just completely sober now.
You were the hardcore party boy back in the day?
Yeah, I was pretty good at it.
I see, yeah. And that's actually a good thing too, because I've actually heard people who like given up stuff, and whether it was because of COVID or anything else like that. I had a guy who gave up cigarettes. It was actually Adam Carl's his name. Check out Porto Pazuzu when you get a chance.
Okay.
He's a metal band out of the Michigan area. But people have done that. People have given up drinking. I mean, it's a good thing too. I mean, I drink moderately, but it's more when I need an occasion. For instance, I can't do it on my own, so I'm always amazed people are just able to like just crack out a beer and whenever they're just watching TV and then just watching shit and then just drinking, that sort of thing. So it's like, how do you guys do it? I need people around me to at least enjoy a beer too. Were you kind of the same way?
Yes and no. Yeah, just whenever it sounded good, I suppose, but wasn't helping me achieve my goals, so moved on from it.
I see. And congratulations, 16 months sober. Keep it going, buddy.
Appreciate it.
No worries. And I guess favorite non-alcoholic drink?
Water.
Just straight water. I was going to say Mountain Dew next. I imagine you need a little sugar to help you out there, but do you drink any soda?
I don't. I drink green tea. It's pretty boring, I guess. Coconut water.
Gotta go the healthy route now, but yeah. I see, that works. No, you're good. So, was there ever a song that was too tough for you to play and you either gave up or came back after a while? So whether this is like a cover or whether it's one of your own songs. So
probably too many to mention. I mean, probably like Deliverance. I tried working on that one for a long time by Opeth. And I got like the ending down, and I don't know, I just haven't revisited it. But I mean, a lot of those metal songs are real tough. They're working at high BPMs. You just have to keep training on the click to get up. I'm probably, doing blast beats like fluidly at like, I don't know, 180 BPMs. And a lot of those guys are up at 200. So, yeah.
That's when you start getting to the extreme when you reach the 200 BPM and blast beats.
Yeah, it starts getting dirty there for me.
I guess, do you know the band Origin by any chance?
For sure, John Longstreth.
John Longstreth. Oh my gosh. You know what? I tried just sitting and listening to Swarm and Saligia from the Entity album. I just feel like, okay, I'm glad I'm not playing that, but it's at least fun to like air draw to it, for instance, too.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking like, how's this guy's legs not hurting or anything like that? I'm thinking like, and my arms are getting tired too. I mean,
right.
I don't know. That guy's a machine too. I even saw him doing the Truth Slayer.
Nice. He's a beast.
Absolutely. I think he did Gore Guts. That's right. He was on Gore Guts, I think, for one of their albums. I think he said that was the hardest like music he's ever done because it was just so syncopated, for instance. So it was like, I had just trouble just trying to find where to hit the snare. I'm thinking like, you're blasted through snares like crazy, man. So you see what I mean. So I guess out of all the drum covers you have done, is there one that you love the most?
Yeah, I'd Fire by Jimi Hendrix.
Oh, you did Fire?
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty sweet.
This is fun.
You just did it for fun? Was it also for your dad too?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. He actually bought me Jimi Hendrix Experience Greatest Hits CD for Christmas when I was a kid, and I was like, every song, 20 songs, probably listened to them, 1,000 times.
I have to say Voodoo Child I really love from Jimi Hendrix.
Oh, yeah.
But I always think it's a live version. I don't know if it's a legit like studio version, for instance.
Okay.
Do you think that's how it goes too? Because it sounds a bit live, for instance. It could just be the studio, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, they play a little bit faster live. And like when my buddy Mike and I were talking about this the other day, he brought it up. He was like, oh, when Sgt. Pepper's came out, like Hendrix just learned like the first 3 songs and banged them out live that night. Just played a cover of Sgt. Pepper's. Like, what a badass.
I know. And it was taken too soon, too. May rest in peace.
Yeah.
Absolute legend. All right. The last one here. What is currently your favorite song?
Oh, dang. I don't even know what the song's called. It's like, it's the second track off the new Carcass album, Torn Arteries. And it's like a pomp and something based off like, play on Pomp and Circumstance. But it has this like really rad, like tribal, like tom intro with the double pedal. And their new drummer, I think, is amazing. I think Ken Owen was obviously the trailblazer in grindcore, but their new drummer's incredible. And that new record's just so good. And that song gets stuck in my head. Like I'll wake up and it's just like, oh, I got to listen to that album now because the song's stuck in my head.
I was going to say, you need it on your alarm clock to wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
And also it just becomes infused in your dreams.
Right.
It's part of it too. So, all right. So, yeah, I guess we covered all the questions, I guess. Did you have any questions for me or any words you want to say before we jump to the last one?
Yeah. How long have you been doing this, man? This is great.
The podcast?
Yeah.
I think it's been going, I want to say a little over a year right now. And
Cool.
I think we actually passed, I want to say actually we did pass our 1 year anniversary coming up. And
Cool.
it did start in February. It was actually a friend of mine in Nashville. And I actually went to college with him. And that's how it all started. And we just talked about drums and stuff like that. Talked for a little over an hour. And that was cool. And afterwards, I just expanded to other people in the drum community. And I reached out to you because, well, I saw you on Instagram there. So I figured, worth a try. And I was pretty glad you responded too. So that was awesome.
Hey, man. No, thank you. And congratulations for passing a year. I hope it lasts for years to come.
Absolutely too. All right. Do you have anything else or are we?
That's it for me, man. I really appreciate it.
No worries. Well, we got one more question right here, and this one tends to get a little deep, but I like to hear people's 2 cents on this one. So, given what COVID has done, and considering how people have been affected by it in some way, what sort of message of hope could you give to musicians and people out there?
Well, I think there always is hope. I think that's important. So I would say just keep playing. I mean, the reason that I play music is to feel my best. I don't think it matters even really if you play. I think it's just music is kind of like this amazing physical phenomenon that we can control sound and time with our bodies and our minds. And any way that you derive enjoyment from it is valid, and it brings people together. And I think if you don't play and you want to start playing, it's never too late. And if you've put it down for a while, it's always there. And if you're playing every day and you enjoy it, just keep doing it.
Smoking like a true prodigy. Always wanted to make sure I do a nice little pause there. Just wanted to make sure there's no other additional words you wanted to say, but that's very good. All right. Thank you, Max. All right.
Thanks, Brian.
No worries. And Max, you're reaching out on my podcast right here. Do you have any shout outs or any final words you want to say before we close out?
Subscribe to this podcast if you're not already, to Brian's podcast. Check out my band, Lemmy Devato. We're at lemmydevato.com, at Lemmy Devato for all the major socials. And Clockwork Percussion is my YouTube and Instagram drum channel. So that's kind of it for me.
Sounds good. All right. Max, you stay safe and good luck tonight, because I know you got a show tonight.
Yes, sir. We're opening for Unsane from New York.
That's so sweet. Go again, brother.
Thank you.
All right. Stay safe. Stay tuned, y'all.
Cheers.